On count 6, I'm going to sentence you to a term of 60 months. They will be consecutive to one another with credit for 143 days. And consecutive sentences are necessary to protect the public from future crime by you and for appropriate punishment.
Sit down. I'm ready to get out, man. Come on, man.
Sit down.
What you mean, man?
Stay down.
No, man. Get me the fuck out of here, man. No, took my plea back, man. Get me the fuck out of here, man. Get me out of here. Get me out of here, man. Get me out of here, man.
Almost done.
Thank you, Your Honor. We are present in the state of Ohio versus Dennis Welk in case number 25 CR 206. The defendant is in court represented by counsel. We were last here on May 14th where the defendant pled guilty to count 5 and count 6, both being sexual battery felonies of the 3rd degree. At that time, the court referred the defendant for a pre-sentence report and victim impact statement. Those reports have been completed and the state is prepared to proceed with sentencing.
Mr. Watson?
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. I'm going to be brief. This was a heinous crime, Judge. This was horrible in a lot of ways, but most importantly, because this was a minor child who almost assuredly didn't fully understand what was going on with somebody whom was entrusted to love her and to protect her. However, Your Honor, this is not indicative of who Mr. Welk is as a person. Yes, he has a record. Yes, he has been to prison, but it's mainly in the past been for drug offenses, I believe some theft offenses, nothing of this magnitude. On this day, and this is not an excuse, Judge, for his behavior, but on this day, Mr. Welk was drinking a lot, was highly intoxicated, and took advantage of his stepdaughter. Since the day I met him, he is in disbelief that he did this. He has expressed to me his remorse and his sadness, and how he hurt her, how he hurt his wife, how he hurt the rest of his family. He knows, Your Honor, that he's going to be spending a lot of time in jail coming up. I know there's discretion with the plea with how much time that equates to. This court has a lot of discretion with that. Earlier in chambers, the state and I presented to the court a joint recommendation for 8 years. I'm going to respectfully ask the court to consider imposing that sentence because I believe Mr. Welk is remorseful. I believe that this is not who he is as a person, and I'm hoping when his time is up and he gets out, which by the way, he's going to be reporting as a sex offender for the rest of his life, so he's going to be under a microscope. He's going to be monitored for the rest of his life. But I'm hoping that he'll be able to piece things together, make amends with at least part of his family. I don't know if he can ever make full amends with everybody or not. And you're going to hear from him in just a minute, Your Honor. But again, I don't think this is who he is as a person. And I'm going to respectfully ask the court to consider adopting the joint recommendation. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. You are required to register in person with the sheriff of the county in which you establish a residency within 3 days of coming into that county, or if temporarily domiciled for more than 3 days. You are also required to register in person with the sheriff of the county in which you establish a place of education immediately upon coming into that county. If you establish a place of education in another state but maintain a residence or temporary domicile here, you are also required to register in person with the sheriff or other appropriate official in that other state immediately upon coming into that state. Failure to register, failure to verify residence at the specified times, or failure to provide notice of change in residence address or other required information as described above will result in a criminal prosecution. Mr. Watson, if you would present this to Mr. Welk for his acknowledgement and signature. All right, Mr. Welk, what do you want to tell me before I impose sentence?
First and foremost, I'd like to apologize to the courts for appearing before them today. I'd like to apologize to the victim in this case. I'm not going to use alcohol or drugs as an excuse for anything. However, alcohol was a main factor in this case. But I take full responsibility for my actions because I chose to make the irresponsible decision consuming too much alcohol than I could handle, causing poor, regretful choices leading to my incarceration. I've read the police reports and feel ashamed, embarrassed, and hurt because that's not the person I am. And I wouldn't be standing here today if I would have just been more responsible. I have 4 younger children that I've let down because of being locked away from them, missing out on watching them grow. Having to deal with that is a heartache alone. The only thing I can do now is work on myself while incarcerated, take advantage of all programs they offer, and become a better man and a better father, and not give up doing so. I have to make this my last time in jail, and I plan to. I'm sincerely remorseful to my victim in this case, letting her down when I was supposed to be a father figure in her life. I beat myself up over this every day. Over this, wishing I could take it all back. I just hope she can grow up in life and leave this in the past, and that it doesn't affect her future. Again, I'm sorry to everyone I caused pain to in this case.
Ms. Alessi?
Thank you, Your Honor. One thing that the defendant said today in court, and even in his pre-sentence report that stood out to me, is that he was supposed to be a loving and caring father. And I couldn't agree more with that. He should have been someone that the victim could trust and rely on for protection and guidance. And instead, he used his role as a parental figure to manipulate her, exploit her, and violate her. And while there is a jointly recommended sentence here, the state believes it's essential to highlight not only what the defendant did pre-indictment, but also what he did after his arrest in this case. While incarcerated, he continued to communicate with the victim while in the Lake County Jail. He attempted to guilt and manipulate her by blaming her for her own suicide attempt at the East Lake Jail. He pressured her to express her feelings to law enforcement about him or her desire for him to only receive a short sentence. He spoke of wanting to attend counseling together. He emphasized they were a team and told her he loved her, despite being her abuser, despite doing what he did here. And during several of these recorded calls, you can hear the victim crying, further illustrating just the ongoing emotional harm caused by the defendant and his conduct. This behavior demonstrates his continued disregard for the well-being of the victim, his family, and his ongoing efforts to control her and manipulate her. The defendant today in court said he's remorseful, but in the pre-sentence report, he didn't believe he did anything wrong, and he wants to take this to trial. So I'm not sure what this court can believe. He has a lengthy criminal history, including 4 prior prison numbers and 5 felony cases. And all of this, I think, supports the need for a significant term of incarceration, and respectfully ask this court to impose a jointly agreed sentence of 8 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Why did you call her after you were in jail?
Because I was told by the detective I was allowed to.
Okay.
I didn't call her. I called my wife, and she answered the phone.
All right. And what contact did you have with her about retracting her statement or modifying her statement?
It wasn't retracting. We talked about counseling, going to counseling and stuff, because that was something that they was talking about making them do, and something she said she didn't want to do.
Well, trying to, whether directly contacting her or contacting her through your wife, was wholly inappropriate. And it was further evidence of you trying to take advantage of her at that young age, like you did when this happened.
Now, she asked the detective if she could have contact with me when this case was all started. Then when I went to my preliminary hearing on February 11th, I asked the detective, and he told me the same thing.
All right. Well, you're experienced enough in the system to have the wisdom that you shouldn't have been contacting her. Okay. In talking to her, having about anything having to do with this case. So you've, in your statement, you say you apologize to her, but then in the pre-sentence report, you talk about how you don't believe you did everything you're accused of doing and wanted to take this to trial. What's that all about?
I don't remember exactly what I said, Your Honor, but what I was saying was I don't have recollection of what happened the night of. So I wasn't admitting to, I don't know what happened.
So did you or didn't you do this stuff?
Yes.
And I got to tell you, it doesn't get much worse than this kind of stuff.
I understand.
And I would note in the record that in 2009 or 2010, you were sentenced to prison on a burglary, released on judicial release, and then returned to prison after a violation of the judicial release. And you were released January 7th of 13. You went back to prison on another case on May 1st of 13 and got out in August. Went to prison on an attempted burglary, trespass in a habitation, breaking and entering, June 23 of 16 through August 5 of 18. A whole bunch of theft offenses between that last prison sentence and where you are today. So you've had a lifetime of criminal activity, but none worse than what has occurred here. So I've reviewed the pre-sentence report and a victim impact statement. I've considered what you have said, what counsel has said, and I've also considered that they've made a joint recommendation of 96 months in prison. And so on count, and I've considered all the provisions in 29, 29, 11, 29, 29, 12, 13, and 14. In consideration of all that, on count 5, I'm going to sentence you to a term of 60 months. On count 6, I'm going to sentence you to a term of 60 months that will be consecutive to one another, with credit for 143 days. And consecutive sentences are necessary to protect the public from future crime by you and for appropriate punishment.
All right, get out, man. Come on, man.
Sit
What
down.
you mean, man?
Stay down.
No, man. Get me the fuck out of here, man.
Judge.
No,
And-
fuck took my plea back, man. Get me the fuck out of here, man. Get me out of here. Get me out of here, man. Get me out of here, man.
Almost done, Judge.
Get me the fuck out of here.
And they,
No, man. Get me out of here. Get
consecutive,
me out of here, man. What the fuck you mean, nigga? Get me the fuck out of here. Man, get me the fuck out of here, nigga.
Let me get my leg.
Get me out of here, man.
Just take him in the chair.
Okay, we're in this chair.
All right.
I'm kissing you tomorrow.
Put me on your visiting list
Uh,
for jail and for.
All right, man. Stop touching me, man. I'm not doing shit, man. I'm not doing shit. I'm not doing shit. What the fuck? Do it all unnecessary.
all right, consecutive sentences are necessary to protect the public from future crime by the defendant and for appropriate punishment. And they are very proportionate to the seriousness of his conduct and the danger he poses to the public. And his history of criminal conduct demonstrates that consecutive sentences are necessary to protect the public from future crime by the defendant. Costs are assessed, the remaining charges are dismissed. Anything else, Ms. Alessi?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Mr. Watson?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, we're adjourned.
All right.
We're here on 25-244 Wesley Weber. We were here on June 18th, which is 8 days ago. After you left here, you went over to probation. there was a suspicion that you were under the influence of drugs, and then you admitted that to Nicole Newman. So this was reset for today. What the hell's wrong with you? You sat here 8 days ago and gave me this song and dance that hanging around the wrong people or some bullshit like that. You hadn't used for a long time. The job was great and you were getting focused. And I asked you a question during the course of the plea if you used drugs or alcohol in the last 48 hours, and you told me no. So that's why I asked that question. What the hell's wrong with you?
I apologize, sir.
I don't want your apology. I want to know
Yeah.
why you're doing what you're doing.
Well, I clearly have an issue. I mean, I'm not making.
What's the issue?
My use of cocaine. And it's only cocaine. But you know.
Well, see, now here's the problem.
Yes.
Why would I believe anything you tell me from this point forward?
I understand.
Well, you may understand or you may not understand, but why would I believe anything you say from this point forward?
You don't have any reason to.
That's right. So, when did you last use cocaine?
I believe it's been within the last 4 days.
I know it's been within the last 4 days. I'm
Yes.
certain it wasn't 4 days ago.
Okay.
So why don't you tell me, don't tell me what you believe, tell me
Okay.
the question was, when did you last use cocaine?
It's been within 3 days.
Okay, see, that doesn't answer the question either.
Yeah.
The question is, when did you last, you're a bad bullshitter. Don't bullshit, okay?
Yeah.
The question is, when is the last time you used cocaine? You know when it was, so goddamn it, tell me what it was.
Yes, sir. Today is Thursday. It would have been Tuesday.
Is that a question or an answer?
That is an answer.
Okay, Tuesday when?
Afternoon.
Where?
At work.
At work.
Yes, sir.
Where'd you get it from?
Someone I know in my hometown.
Okay. Who did you get it from?
Do you need a name specifically?
You see, here we go. Okay.
I'm asking,
No,
sir.
no, I'm asking you.
Yes.
And you're evading me, okay? The question was, who did you get it from? That's a very specific question with only one answer. The answer is the name of the person you got it from.
His name is Bryant.
What?
Bryant is the first name.
Bryant.
Yes, sir.
All right. Is he like Pele? He only goes by one name, or
Bryant Thompson.
Bryant Thompson.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how do you know Bryant Thompson?
Just through mutual friends.
Which friends?
I believe I met him through my barber. My barber ended up giving me his name years ago
Why?
for that use.
Okay. How many years ago?
3.
What are you going to do about your drug problem?
Well, like you said, I know you don't have reason to believe me, but I am motivated with my work schedule and keeping my.
Well, you're using cocaine at work.
Yeah, I understand, but it's,
No wonder why you're motivated to be there.
but I understand how it's affected my job, and my performance is lower when I do, and I don't want it to affect that.
Okay.
Any
So
longer.
what are you going to do about it?
I'm going to quit use, and I'm going to seek more help. I have, I don't know a name yet, but my mother knows a counselor through church who she's going to try to help me get
What
in contact.
church?
It's called Grace Fellowship in Niles, Ohio.
Didn't you go through some treatment program before?
I did.
What
and
was that?
So that was through the Niles court, and to be honest, it was just it was not very in depth. It wasn't super helpful, I don't think, for me.
Why didn't you go to one that was more in depth and more helpful?
I should have.
I know. Why didn't you? Because you didn't want to. Okay, because you liked getting high, right?
Yes, sir.
This could be the fastest violation in a history of intervention. An all-time record. Who's your boss over there at Verizon?
His name is Andrew Nelson.
Does he know you're getting high at work?
I don't believe so. He might suspect.
Did he ever say anything to you?
He hasn't.
That doesn't seem like a very good place to work.
I know I don't represent them well, but it honestly is a very great place to work. You're not represented well by me. I understand that.
Where did you work before that?
I was a supervisor at UPS for 6 years.
You were using it then too, right?
Not the entire time. The last 2 years of my work there, yes, I was.
Was there something? What drugs did you use before cocaine?
Slight marijuana and drinking casually, just with on weekends, but nothing ever to the extent that I have when I started using cocaine.
So, and you're how old now?
32, almost 33.
So when you were 28 or 29, you started using cocaine?
Correct.
Okay. And was there, of course, for the sake of this discussion, I'm going to believe what you're telling me, okay? So is there some reason you went through your first 28 years without using cocaine and decided, shit, what a great idea it would be to get hooked on cocaine? Is there something that prompted that?
I wish I had a really good answer for that, but I don't.
Well, what is the answer? Give me the shitty answer.
The shitty was I was lacking purpose in my life, and I was
And
feeling
you found
it was.
purpose in cocaine.
No, it made me wander off more.
Did you think it was going to give you purpose in life?
I don't know what I was thinking when I did it, to be 100% honest with you.
How much does cocaine cost these days?
It's expensive. I mean, a gram is like $100, and they go fast.
We actually didn't do an entry on this, right? So I haven't sentenced him yet, or I haven't made the final determination yet as to what the terms of your intervention. They ain't the same as they were 8 days ago, I'll tell you that. Because you have no ability to control your habit. Do you think you have the ability to control your habit?
I did for several months, and then I made one bad decision.
Which months?
So from February up until about 2 weeks ago, I was clean because I was doing that Travco program where I was testing clean.
The what?
I was doing a drug program in Warren out of the Niles Court called Travco where I was being tested.
How do I know that?
I don't know how to. I mean, I was doing it through the Niles Court.
Okay, how do I know that?
You don't.
Right.
You don't.
That's the problem when you start lying to me.
I understand.
And then this entire time, I don't believe anything you're telling.
I understand.
Okay, so let's, again, for the sake of our discussion, assume that you have been testing in Niles Court. And further assume that it had been negative. So for several months, you weren't using.
Correct.
And then when the program was done, you immediately figured, well, I ain't getting tested no more, I'll start using again. Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you have no control over that issue. Because if you had control over it, you wouldn't have went back to using.
Correct.
Correct. So you think going to some counselor at some church you don't belong to that your mother suggested is the solution to your problem?
Not the end all be all. I think it could aid, it could help, but I understand it's not the solution. It's not going to fix everything.
Why don't you find the solution?
Okay.
What does that mean? The question is, why don't you find the solution? Did you ever think maybe the solution to your problems might be found in the pursuing of the solution to your problem?
Yes.
No, you didn't. Ms. Tomaszek, anything you'd like to say?
Just briefly, Your Honor, since Mr. Weber technically wasn't sentenced, I would just like to ask the court to allow him one more opportunity to do the intervention in lieu of conviction with, I do believe Mr. Weber needs much more treatment than he sets out. So we'd just like to ask the court to allow him one more chance at the intervention in lieu and maybe a little more stricter conditions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Ms. Randallson, anything you'd like to say?
Well, I do want to say, Your Honor, that when Wesley interviewed with me, he was not high. So that's why it's so easy to tell that he was high previously and that he is high today. It's totally different than me. And although it might not be what Mr. Weber wants, I think that maybe the jail treatment program would be a good
What in your telephone under what's the contact information you have for Bryant?
I would have to pull out my phone in order to, you mean the actual number?
No, just pull out, tell me when you go to, what's he under, Thompson?
Correct.
Okay.
Did you want me to do that, sir?
No,
Okay.
I just want to know what it was under. I mean, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to delete it.
I would do that right now if you want me to, sir.
The terms that were put on the record, that not yet adopted by judgment entry on June 18th are rescinded. That's where you were placed on the 1-year plan with 2 days in jail, no drugs or alcohol, felon employment. So the new terms, you're going to stay on the intervention, 4-year plan, 47 days in jail with credit for 2. The last 30 days, you're going to be in the jail treatment program and complete it, follow all recommendations. You're going to get a mental health evaluation, follow all the recommendations. You're to have no drugs or alcohol, and you'll be screened. You attend at least 3 AA or NA meetings a week and get a sponsor. Obtain and maintain full employment, pay the costs and supervision fees. Ms. Randallson, any other terms of the plan?
No, Your Honor.
You understand the terms of the plan?
I believe so.
Is there anything you don't understand?
Does that mean I go to jail?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
You don't seem to think you have a problem,
I understand.
or you seem to think that you have a problem that you can manage all by yourself, and you can't. You're not even close. So that's what it is. And like I told you last time, if you violate, the state will file a motion to terminate, and the next time I'll just terminate it. And then you'll have a felony conviction. When you go to find a job, you can tell them you have a felony conviction. They'll probably ignore you. So that's one alternative. The other alternative is you can attempt to get your act together, and then you can find your purpose and not run in and out of courtrooms the rest of your life. Mr. Knopf, anything? Mr. Knopf, anything else?
Just how many days jail was it? 35?
47.
So
Credit 2. Ms. Tomaszek?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right.
Forty-five days jail, they usually have you sit for the third person or last that they do the jail treatment program. If they can get you in sooner.
So there's nothing around it, so you just go to jail?
Because you had everybody doing whatever